Hello there. Today, I want to talk about decision making. Do you want to improve how your team makes decisions? That's a tricky question. Of course you want. And many clients reach out asking for help in this regard. However, before we jump into the solution, we need to understand what are the key issues affecting decision making. There are two groups, two extremes that we see often in different types of company. On the one hand, teams that are looking for agreement, and on the other, teams or leaders pushing for buy-in. Let me explain how this works and how it affects decision making. First, when it comes to agreement, what leaders are looking is to please the team. They're looking to please people, not to make the best decision. They're looking for consensus. This slows down the process because in most cases, they involve everyone, too many opinions, it's unclear who plays which roles, then aiming for the lowest common denominator. So the quality of the decision is not there because they're focusing on pleasing people. The second group looks for buy-in. Basically, they're trying to convince the team members to support a decision that they already made. They don't involve people, they're limiting their perspectives to themselves, probably one leader or two or three that are the ones who crafted that decision. They're rushing the process, many times listening to crickets. There's a lot of silence because people don't want to jump in, they don't want to provide different perspectives. Probably they don't feel safe or encouraged to do so. In the end, buying in, it's about rushing the process and pleasing the boss rather than finding the right solution. Enter disagree and commit. Disagree and commit is a great way to solving those two issues that we discussed earlier. Many startups are using it, and Amazon made it famous when it codified as a principle. One of Amazon's leadership principles is have a backbone. It's about inviting leaders to challenge groupthink. It's about inviting and fostering dissent. This process provides a moment to disagree and another moment to commit. This concept has been working in many organizations for years. Intel, decades ago, started using disagree and commit. Disagree and commit process, as its name states, has two key elements. On one hand, disagreement is about promoting dissent, to encouraging people to think differently, to challenge each other, not for the sake of creating conflict, but for the sake of elevating the quality of the decision. So when we get different points of view, we are going to make sure that our decision is smarter. That's the point about the first part. The second part, commit, it's about moving on. At some point, we need to stop the discussion and we need to align on what are we trying to achieve. Decisions are not about making the boss happy. It's not about making people happy. It's about helping the company and the team succeed. So when we make a decision, everyone should commit to support it. I hear a lot of companies saying, hey, we're using the disagree and commit process, but simply throwing the words up in the air, it's not going to make this process work. It requires clear steps. And these are the 5 steps that I use with my clients. Let me go through each of them. First, it's about proposing. What's the solution that one team member or the leader wants to implement? That's usually how this process gets started. You can also start with a problem. Maybe what we want is agree or disagree what the problem is all about before we jump into making decisions. The second step, it's disagree. Invite people to debate the problem or the solution, hear different perspectives. One thing that's critical, disagreement is not just thinking differently for the sake of it. Team members need to provide data, evidence, examples. They need to support their perspective, not simply push back. The third step, decide, is where either the team or a leader, by consultative method or by consent, not consensus, make a decision or ratify the original decision. Then we move on to commit. Commit, as I mentioned earlier, is that everyone, not just a majority, commits to successfully implement the decision, regardless if they didn't agree with it in the very first place. As Andy Grove, former CEO of Intel, said, this process helps prove people right or wrong. So if you think that the decision is wrong, that it's not going to work, what better way to show other people that they're wrong by implementing it correctly. And then if a new product or a new solution doesn't work, then you make your point rather than boycotting the process. When you move to implementation, everyone's going to make sure that they implement it in their best capacity. If it doesn't work, maybe we're going to change the decision, or we can actually iterate because this is part of the process. Maybe we find that certain aspects work, another needs to be improved. The most important part about disagree and commit, that it's not just a catchy phrase. It's basically a powerful process for your team to make better decisions. However, you need to use it carefully. The mother of all ironies came from Amazon itself, one of the biggest promoters of disagree and commit. Mike Hopkins, senior VP of Prime Video, recently instructed people back to the office. He said something on the lines that disagree and commit. I don't have data to back it up, but I know it's better. The power of disagree and commit lies in genuine alignment. This is not the way you should use it. It's not a tool to suppress dissent, basically telling people disagree and commit without letting them express their concerns, neither to force buy-in. Do you want to dive deeper into the process and learn how to implement the disagree and commit approach? Check out the full article linked below. Thank you for watching, and here's for better decision-making in your team.